is in Brazil. Wow. So the picture behind me is on Shelter Island. I happened to take this picture um, almost a year ago in uh, I think it was late September. Here in San Diego, summer gets underway like today or yesterday, although it doesn't look it outside today. But it really gets going in late August, all the way through September, and all the way through October. So it's like an endless summer, just like that old movie about surfing. This is exactly it. Um, so this is at the Kona Kai Yacht Club behind me. We're not members there, but we are frequent customers there. We go there and walk and have lunch a lot. We love the area. And these are this is a pathway, and there's a reason why I'm showing this today, and I'll tell you in a minute. But the vegetation here is real, but it doesn't look like that now. And today is July 3. And it hasn't looked like this all the way until last November or December, uh, when the colors disappear. And it's wintertime in San Diego. It doesn't snow here, but but the vegetation changes. And then as the heat hits this type of vegetation, it turns colors. It's amazing. Uh,
Interesting.
yeah, so now I'm a photographer also, so I know how to adjust images and textual appearance. So I increased the contrast and
Mhm.
saturation and tinting to bring up these colors. They are real, but not as intense as this appears. So it was so beautiful when it came up, I decided to make this a showpiece. So I used this for a few shows over the past months where we're talking about pathways, all right? Making a strategic decision in your career or life or relationships. Um, about changing directions or going down a pathway. Not quite the yellow brick road, the Elton John song, but this is a beautiful pathway, and where's it going to lead? How far does it go? It looks like it's endless. It's actually only a couple of 100 yards there, but it looks longer. And then it turns the corner a little bit. But this is meant to represent taking a chance and walking down a pathway, doing something a little different with your life. And that's a story we can talk about. Okay. So, Carolina, tell us a little bit about yourself. Your company is Ingles Corporativo. I'm not good at Portuguese.
Yes. Inglés corporativo. I am a mentor corporate English for professionals that want to improve their English here in Brazil and abroad too. I also work with companies that send professionals over, uh, many countries. So I help them to develop their English skills so they can go through job interviews and express themselves and be confident and feel comfortable anywhere in the world. So yeah, it's been very pleasant to see people, achieving their goals.
You and I met on LinkedIn. Just one day, your LinkedIn thing popped into my screen. I said, "Who is this?" And then I read your stuff there, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to introduce myself here and invite you to come on Global TV Talk Show." And you've done it. Thank you. And now we're here today because you wanted to interview me, and so we're going to interview each other. Okay,
Yes, I have
so
many questions.
shoot, you're first.
So when I saw you on LinkedIn, one of the things that caught my eye is how you were always interacting with other professionals, right? Interviewing, exchanging information. So this thing of connection, of bringing people together, of yeah, connecting people through internet, I think is so valuable. And I'd like to know, Edwin, how, what is that you're passionate about doing this? What is that motivates you to do this? And when this started?
When I was in high school and when I was younger than that, I had a speech issue. I stuttered, and
Oh,
not 100%, but frequently, especially pulling together consonants like BR, PR, and then the words. Uh, and sometimes I would choke up on speaking and couldn't enunciate what I wanted to. It was like, and all the girls laughed at me, you know, so uh, and so I also had a poor complexion at the time. Maybe it was my diet, or maybe I was just all screwed up, probably. And I basically have conquered that. Sometimes it still comes up, but in high school, the football coach, big guy, flat top, you know, ru- big big He-Man kind of guy, but with a soft touch. He was he pulled me aside. I was in one of his classes. I forget what he taught, but uh, he taught me how to get rid of this problem. Now, my dad had a stutter too, and why, and all that. Uh, so strange. But he pulled me in. So in high school, you have study hall time mixed in with classes. So during one of the study hall times, he made me, he didn't make me, but he was firm. He says, you got to get rid of this problem now. And do you want to? I can help you. So I said, okay, let's try it. So I'll never forget this. He says, do you like sports? So yeah, I ran track, and I was fat when I was younger. I was fast runner. So, and he said, "Do you like baseball?" I said, "Yeah." So watch the Red Sox, Boston. I was from Boston originally, so Boston Red Sox was the team. So he says, "Well, I've got the newspaper here. Uh, Here's the sports page. Start reading that column about the Red Sox." I read it. I'll never forget that. And I didn't stutter. I really enjoyed the sport and followed religiously, watched games, went to them, and it says, "Why aren't you stuttering?" It says, "I don't know." So he says, "We're going to practice reading, and then we're going to talk about it, whatever the topic is." So he did this for I don't know, a couple of months, uh, every day during the study break. Rather than studying, I went to that session, and we read different things. We had different conversations. A month or two later, I stopped stuttering. So doing, there's other stories why I'm doing this, but this is the real life story. The
mhm.
driving force. This is like my therapy now, and self-imposed therapy. And so, and professionally, I'm a salesman, and PR and media and marketing has always been my thing all my life. So combining uh, with the advent of internet and COVID impacted my 30 years of successful live meetings and events business. So a friend of mine, Paul, his job is an actor, a voice actor, and a radio engineer. Okay, so he was not on camera; he was behind the camera and mainly audio, uh, radio stuff. So one day I was just chatting with him in this company he worked for as a radio engineer. It was called World Talk Radio, and this was in 2010, so 15 years ago. So I was in there visiting, and he says, "Here, put these headphones on." And when I go like that, talk to me, wearing the headphones and the mic, about what you're doing at work. What kind of job do you have? Who do you sell to? And things like that. And we're going to do a sound check on you. Not going to be broadcast. You're going to hear how you sound on the radio. So I didn't stutter and didn't make a fool of myself. And we had a conversation. So anyway, we played it back. And I said, "That's good." And then he says, "Do you want to do a radio show?" And sure. How do I do it? What do I do? He says, "Well, you can't have a script. You can't read things. You got to just
Mm.
talk or you'll turn people off. You have to engage people.
Mhm.
You do that through personality as it comes across the headphones. Again, this is audio, not TV, right? So how do you do that? So I'm going to show you how to do it. And then I want you to go listen. When you leave here, I want you to turn on the radio and listen to people who read the news or talk about sports, radio announcers, sportscasters, on how they engage, how they talk. And you have to get comfortable doing that kind of thing. So anyway, long story shortened here. We started doing a radio show um, in his studio there in during his off hours. And I called it Global Radio Talk Show.com. It's still there. Okay. So when COVID hit, he says, you got to get comfortable looking at this green light and learn how to be a happy TV talk show host. And part of it is smiling a lot, you know. So, and combing your hair and, you know, maybe wearing a tie sometimes, but not necessary because you're going to have to relate to people when they're not wearing a tie or be all dressed up. They have to be camera ready. And so you may have to coach people on how not to be afraid of this green light and to make it a friend. And so you're going to have to learn how to act a little bit, not be phony, never be phony. But yeah, whatever you're doing, you got to mean it. So you can't be phony because the camera will see that you're phony and the audience will kill you, never come back. So if you can conquer that, he said, you're going to have an audience. And then you could sell ads because you have an audience. So that's the beginning of all that. And COVID, when it crashed into my business on or about March 1st, 2020, I had just completed in the previous days, Feb 25 and Feb 27, a New York City conference and a Washington, D.C. conference. Both of them were sellouts. Those are the last two live conferences I did that was stopped by COVID. And by the end of March, 30 days later, I started doing recordings on Zoom. And so I called it the global meeting room.
Mhm.
You're in the global meeting room now, Carolina. And so what does that mean to me now? I can talk to you across time and space, across borders, across cultures, and we we've known each other less than 30 days, I think, and yet you've been on several programs already. And I know my partners and guests have very much appreciated you coming on and sharing about what you do and participating in the conversations. And so I want you to do more. So that's a real long story. I'm sorry, but I thought it would be relevant. And it's about the pathway, going down a pathway.
Mhm.
And so when I get people involved with me and they don't know me from a hole in the wall, you know, I got to build trust. And the way I've been doing that is to uh, invite a variety of people on the program at no charge, no registration fee. We I pay bills by selling ad space and inviting people to join my club. I call it the Global Press Club, and what it's a membership thing. The annual is the most biggest package because of services, but I won't get into that on now. And the monthly is the most expensive way to go, but uh, you get all the services each and every month that the annual members do. But of course, the pricing is different. The At another time, I'll get into that. But the concept here is to get people to want to talk about themselves. My customer, Philip Berry, uh, calls it branding, personal branding, meshing with the professional brand. In other words, how you get your personality to project comfort and psychological safety for your customer, your guest, so that they feel like talking about whatever. And the more I do that, the better I get at it. So the more I do that, my customers who are on the shows get more comfortable, not only using this platform to talk about their brands, their culture, and how and why they are doing what they're doing. And that's called personal branding and explaining, not as uh, a bragger, not as a loudmouth, but in a way that people want to hear, want to learn. And the more that happens, the more rapport is established. And from that, and only from that, comes trust and doing more. So the more I have the opportunity to build a relationship, the more likelihood that will be a relationship that continues. Maybe not every day, but over years. This Philip Berry, who I just mentioned, we've known each other since he came and spoke at my live meeting in Paris in November of 1999. It was a big deal. He was global people officer for Colgate-Palmolive Corporation. And he liked what I did so much that he said I ought to form a new company. Um, and I'll just grow what I'm doing in a new direction and add on a division about global HR, not just HR stuff, but global HR, because it's very different. And part of that is the talent attraction, talent recruitment, talent onboarding, learning and development. And that is outside the US, not just inside the US. So global policies, global talent, and then how a talent that is in, say, Paris or in Sao Paulo, or Rio, Panama, or Mexico City, that talent can come into today's global meeting room and meet and greet people. So basically, I'm working in your town today in Brazil. And here we are, thousands of miles away. And across time and space, across cultures, across borders, across generations. So the global meeting room is the success. So people come to look, tiptoe, and and then maybe they dive in and become an annual member. So I can pay more bills. And so the more I do this with people on various topics, could be the same topic, just another edition of that topic, or could be a different kind of show. The more people you would meet, that may turn into relationships that you will thrive on. So that leadership role, that the impact of what I'm doing, that leadership role that is created because of what I'm doing, makes me a better guy, and makes the customer, in other words, the person like yourself on the show, uh, interested to use what I'm doing to help themselves. So I'm in advertising and PR for a long time, so everything is marketing to me.
Mm.
So I call that co-marketing, like cooperation, right? Co-marketing. So it's a name that I trademarked, and so I call it co-marketing partnering. Co-marketing partners is my company name for almost 50 years now. So uh, the concept is to do this and on different topics. And if it works and if the relationships work, then a series rather than just a one-shot deal. Okay, one and done. And we could do the same kind of a topic, but stretched out over weeks and months, and who knows, maybe years. So that I've been fortunate that some of that has endured, some of that has happened. And so the more people I find who want to play that game, tiptoe in, try it, um, the more positive vibe there is out there about what I'm doing. And so more people are interested. And I would imagine that's exactly what's happened with you and me. So, and it's happened with other people. So I am really grateful. Thank you. But it's, uh, uh, I've done almost 1,200 productions on the Zoom since that March 2020. They're all on the YouTube channel, free access. And the subscription to that channel is free because we want more eyeballs, more audience. The more audience I get and the more well-educated that audience person is, the, the more they know instinctively what to do with this to help themselves. So the co-marketing approach is use my audience to augment or build your own audience. And that's like a drive, it should be a driving force for my customers to stick with me as I go forward. And then they give me ideas on what to talk about. And so, and then I develop that with them. And then we find one other person or two other persons who they know, who I don't know. And they say, hey, you want to come on this? And then we have another exposure.
And how many countries do you have associates?
Mm. I spent most of the time the past 5 years just doing US stuff, but um, about, well, my first live meeting that I ever produced outside of the US
Mhm.
was in 1997 in London.
Wow.
So I had New York-based, uh, very successful business guys involved in the relocation business.
Mhm.
Talent, mobile talent means the company relocates somebody or puts them on assignment. And so New York was the capital of all that, of course. And of course, California is now too. Everywhere is. There's talent from Brazil that is being sent to different areas, of course. But the biggest market of all this is US. And London is strong. Our largest audience today, according to LinkedIn, is in the US, mainly from Boston, northeast of New York, on south to around Washington, D.C. In that northeast US segment, that's where most of my TV audience is. Right. And this is a business to business program. The public, of course, can watch, but like 95% of our people who work in a company. In fact, the LinkedIn recently sent me some numbers, according to them, regarding the global TV talk show viewers, audience. 35% have the position in a corporation, in a company called Chief Executive Officer. So that's a pretty good number. And um, uh, what's really special about it is that number has is related, according to LinkedIn, in companies having more than 10,000 employees. So we're talking Fortune 500 type companies, 35%. Top level, top companies. That's who the audience, to some extent, is. Not everybody, of course. But 50%, according to LinkedIn, 50% are in what they call senior level leadership roles within companies worldwide, in in companies having the 1,000 or more employees. Okay, it's huge. And then, of course, we have other people, HR people and salespeople, and then we have all the services that want to sell into these companies by connecting with these leaders who are eyeballs, not on all the shows, but on the obvious ones. And I'll send you a couple of those that I just did recently. So it's a huge market. So now what my objective is to get 1,000 people to become annual members or monthly members. I don't care. Either way. And so they use the show more. They may not be on every show, but nobody has all that time. But some people will. And even if they do one show a month, it's okay. But I broadcast every day, business days. I haven't done weekends yet. I don't want to. So I hope that is helpful information. So when people come on the show who uh, want to be as camera ready as you are, frankly, beautiful and expressive in an easy way, you know exactly what I'm doing and you know what to do to make it work for you in your business. I can help you, of course, by inviting you to shows where I know other corporate people are going to be, and I know that's your market. So uh, that's how the co-marketing idea works. We're going after different things, but using the vehicle. And so that's in the long run, that's how I'll make a living. When people like yourself see for themselves what the potential is. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but what the potential can be. It makes sense to spend time with me. And so then leaders are made, you know, it's not that I'm doing it, but I'm providing a vehicle for that birth to happen. All right, if it's done right. Not all of them work, but and sometimes the computer doesn't want to work, as we noticed yesterday. Uh,
Mhm.
so, um, how did you first start doing what you're doing?
How did I started doing
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And when was that?
Well, I relate to your experience of overcoming the challenge you had and how your trainer helped you there. I think that in life sometimes and always when we have challenges is an opportunity that we have, right? To learn and to do something not only for us but for other people. I went to live in the year of 2000 to the United States. I went to serve a voluntary mission, was very excited to be there for the first time in my life. And it was a new world, new country, new culture. But there was a small detail. I didn't speak a word of English. And I went to live, share an apartment with four American girls. So in the first months, Edwin, my head hurt all the time because of the effort I was trying to make to understand and to ask for my own food and take phone calls. And it was an amazing experience because, of course, with time you learn, and the immersion is the best way, of course, to learn a language. But I understood in my own experience how the language can be a barrier sometimes, how the culture can be a barrier if we don't have enough information beforehand. So that inspired me to learn the language, master the language. Then eventually I went to work for an American company in my country, work in the training department for many years, and they sent me to train agents all over the world. So I've been to Australia, New Zealand, Canada, United States many times. Um, and it really hit me the fact that not only the language is important for us to communicate with other professionals, with each other, right? But also to be able to listen to people, to be able to understand the signs that people show us when we are having a communication, much more than the language is really to pay attention to what the other person is showing to us. And when we can really connect, then this is when we can accomplish our purpose. In my case, I was a trainer. I had to exchange information with them. Sometimes they didn't want because when I work as a trainer for a company, I usually had to be in agencies where we were changing their systems. We were doing a system change. So imagine someone that worked for 20 years doing the same thing. We're very used to do the same, commands in the computer. And there I was saying, hey, everything changed. Now you need to learn from scratch a new system. right? So in that moment, I really understood that I had to put myself in their shoes. I had to understand how they felt before I arrived there with new information. So asking questions, being really empathetic with them was what worked for me. And I worked for many years in that company. Then I decided to start working for myself. Pandemic came over and it was very good for me because I was only teaching people like presential mode, one to one. And with the internet connections, then I could have groups and people with no longer geographical barriers. So nowadays I have students in more than 7 countries. I'm very grateful that I have friends like you. We met a short time ago, but in the meetings with you and other professionals that I met, so much important topics are discussed. This is what really, really um, gives me the desire to be there, right? Because people talking about things that are relevant, and you made us feel so good. It's like a very safe space for us to be. uh, Really, I want to say, Edwin, what you do is highly important, highly important. The connections you're creating, the work that is beyond what you can see, I'm sure is benefiting so many people around the globe. So thank you for that.
You're so special. Thank you. Do you want me to change the picture? Is this annoying to you or?
Oh no, for me, it's like, I was in California in May, and everybody was telling me you need to go to San Diego. So now I'm seeing San Diego in your picture. It's fine. It's
Okay.
beautiful.
Yeah, I can show you other pictures if you want. Let's see if I can do that.
I was in LA for a friend's wedding. Um, but next time for sure, I will visit San Diego, some other places. Santa Monica, so beautiful. Oh my gosh,
Yeah, yeah,
so beautiful.
certainly is. Okay, I'm going to, as you can see, there's a lot of pictures here, but
Oh, I
that's,
cannot see. Actually,
oh, you can't, oh, only me?
mm-mm. Yeah, I'm just
Okay,
seeing the same picture.
okay, I'm going to change it now.
Oh, we have a rainbow now.
I know. This is a picture I took. Now this is we're in San Diego,
Okay.
and I'm across the harbor on Coronado. All right,
Mhm.
which is they call it an island, but it's attached with a long causeway, 10-mile causeway to Imperial Beach, which is on the Mexican border. Um,
Mhm.
but the island is a big island, and half of the island of Coronado, they call it the island, is U.S. Navy uh, headquarters for the Pacific Fleet. It's an Air Force, Navy Air Force, Navy ships. Uh, you can imagine it's extremely well protected area. Um, and the rest of the island is upscale housing. Not every inch, but most of it is upscale housing. Uh, Joanne and I used to live over there, right on the waterfront, right where that scene
Oh,
is, and
nice.
we had sold oh, a nice home and said, okay, now what do we do? And so they said, well, let's go to the beach. Which beach? Okay, there's a lot of beaches here. So I said, let's go to Coronado. We can rent. So we decided to sign a 5-month rent. Uh, and there was a park very near where the apartment complex was, big complex. And we stayed 5 years.
Wow.
So went for 5 months and stayed for 5 years. And so because it's beautiful. And
It is.
so this was a scene. There's a park there. You can't really see the park, and then the bay, and then the some of the downtown skyline behind. It's just across the bay, and that's the harbor, San Diego Harbor. And that was a real picture. I didn't make that up. It was after a rainy day, and rainbows are common in Honolulu, in Hawaii, but not in San Diego. That was really unusual. And I was happy and fortunate to have the phone ready, and I just snapped. And that's the picture.
Beautiful.
Yeah, isn't that great? Boy, it's,
Amazing.
yeah. So at one time before the Coronado Bridge was built in 69, 1969, it's a 2 mile bridge across. There was a ferry boat. You couldn't get there unless you're in a boat. Okay. And the military liked that at first, but a lot of other people didn't like it. So they got the federal government to spend the money. Uh, so they did. So there was a ferry that came in on the other side of that little hut there. Uh, and that used to be on the other side of there. There's now a park, but it used to be the landing of the ferry from downtown
Mm,
that always went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It doesn't take long. It's like 10 minutes. But it used to be a car ferry as well as passengers. And that little hut was the toll booth. Get off the drive out across the boat into that area, which is now a beautiful park. It wasn't then, it was a driveway. And you pay the fee right there. And then across the street now, uh, there's a roadway called Orange Avenue. And that will take you all the way across the island to the ocean, okay, to the beach,
nice.
Coronado Beach. Yeah. So it's an interesting story. Now, Orange Avenue was called that originally because orange trees lined the whole area.
Mm,
Now they don't. They took them all down and built housing. So, an interesting place. Yeah. So this is the other side. And now naturally there's other areas that are not so beautiful in San Diego, but I like taking pretty pictures.
beautiful, beautiful. And one of the things that I felt when I was visiting California, besides going to some of the places that I've seen all my life, in the movies and so on, but feeling the vibe of the people there, like for me was so clear, like how dreams can become truth. And
Mm.
one question for you, Edwin,
Yep.
how in your life do you feel like your dreams became truth?
I mean, when?
How? How did you get to the point that you imagined something for you? Did you dreamt about being there, living in this place, or doing what you do now? How did you get to that? How did you?
It's a long story. So that's a good question, fair question. So it goes back to when I was a kid, little kid, 10 years old or whatever. I watched TV all the time. And rather than read books, I was watching TV. And in America, cowboy movies were the rage at that time. Shoot 'em ups, the marshal with the badge against the bad guys, bang bang. Indians, on horseback. And so I was just glued to the TV. And then I watched other shows too, like I Love Lucy, uh, Bonanza, and
Yes.
news shows, whatever. The TV was on all the time. So that turned out to be why I walked into Cold Call years later, uh, came out of the U.S. Army um, after graduating college in Army Reserve. I was a medic, but I will talk about that later. But um, I said I want to work in show business in Hollywood. I'm a business guy, marketing, not an actor, you know. So, although I do a lot of acting now, but um, so I walked into this sales office of a film company called United Artists, big company, it's in Hollywood, New York. Then there was a sales office. Sales meaning they sold to owners of movie theaters a package of films, and you know uh, movie production companies like United Artists or Disney or Paramount Pictures, you know, that kind of thing. They make a lot of movies. Those are products to them. And then at the time, the major marketing wasn't internet; it didn't exist. Um, but go to a theater, sit down in the dark, and see a big screen, eat popcorn. So the people who own these movie theaters across the U.S. and elsewhere, they own the real estate, a lot of it. And so I was introduced to the son. He was older than me, 10, 15 years older than me at the time. I think I was 26, 25 at the time. And I said, I need a job. I don't care what you pay me, you know, just teach me something. So I became a film booker. My job was, because I was at that age, to in the office in Boston was a screening room where uh, the owners watched a lot of movies and decided, is this good or is it crap? You know, and will it play in a theater? Well, in other words, will people want to spend money to buy a ticket, and for how long? You know, so they rent movie at a certain percentage of the gross. Some of the bigger movies like Sound of Music or Superman, you know, the big movies, West Side Story, they cost a lot of money to make. And so the film company charges a lot of money to the showers, the exhibitors, as they're called, movie theater owners. And so uh, the ownership makes an educated guess as to what are they going to spend on this thing. And the terms of a contract, if it doesn't hit a certain number, we're going to pull it out and put another film in that theater because we got to pay the rent and staff and taxes and other. So they're always looking for movies that sell tickets. So my job, again, I'm just off the street, was to look at movies that and write a report based upon the type of movie it is, the acting, the portrayal. Was it boring? Did you fall asleep? Did you start thinking about other things? Or were you gripped to the storyline and, you know, paid attention? Okay. So that's the determining factor of audience strength, as it turns out. I didn't know anything. I just love movies, watching them. So I did that every day. Lunch at the desk most times, watching movies, and then writing a report. Sometimes I said, yeah, what are you talking about? You know, that kind of thing. I missed the mark or they didn't agree or something. So then one day, there's a movie that was made about Woodstock. the music festival in the
Oh, yeah.
US, you know, and it was an outdoor festival um, in 1968, I think. And, you know, the movie wasn't made till a few years later. And so I have to step aside here and make a long story short. I don't want to bore you. It's
Mhm.
So the ownership, the decision makers in the movie theater company, which is actually a real estate business, okay, was to what was old. So my boss was the owner's son. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So I mentioned that I'm 80 now, but his dad was 80. Okay. I mean, 80 at that time was old. Okay. Um, so that's the mentality and attention span and do they care and that kind of thing. So this movie Woodstock was sent around to different theater owners. Um, and then the movie theater company, which the filmmaker was Warner Brothers, right? Old time Hollywood company. They make a lot of movies. Some of them don't go anywhere, and others big hits. They make tons of money. So Woodstock was made, and it was crazy because there's nothing but loud music and rock and roll, and it lots stoned kids, and so it was really grungy. Wasn't nice and beautiful like that. It was grungy, and the music was loud. And so the old guys, and what is this junk? What are you doing watching it? Wasting my money. See something that's going to make money. So I said, I'm going to write it up, okay? He says, okay. So I wrote it up. Anyway, the movie would appeal to kids who are smoking marijuana in the theater or just prior to walking in the theater. And then they're going to buy a lot of popcorn and drinks because they're stoned and they're watching a movie that they like the music in and the whole scene. So these guys in the movie theater company, they owned a lot of real estate. They're wealthy people. And some of the real estate were movie theaters on or next to nearby college campuses. They also had drive-in movie, outdoor theaters. They also had downtown first run, beautiful showcase cinemas. So the movie theaters next to Harvard, MIT, Princeton, Cornell, all the Ivy League schools, the elite schools,
Mhm.
and some of what they called the Big Ten football schools, like Ohio State, Notre Dame, University of Chicago, University of Texas, University of Miami, all over they owned those theaters. Okay. And they didn't know what to do with them. The movie Love Story came out too, totally different than Woodstock. The beautiful story, and you know, that's the kind of old-fashioned Rock Hudson, Doris Day, uh, Cary Grant, Sophia Loren kind of movies. So along comes Woodstock, which is really a grungy thing. So I wrote a report saying that anyone over 30 is not going to watch this movie ever. Your market is college kids and a little younger and maybe a little older. But so how old are you in college? Oh, 18 to 22, something like that. That's the market. And you run it at midnight, not during the day. You run it 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 12. All right. And you have to hire cleaning companies who are going to come in and fumigate the theater and spray pretty smelling stuff to get rid of the other smells, and vacuum the rugs, clean the bathrooms, everything, shine it up in between because it'll get wrecked. And but you'll make a lot of money with those kids because they're all going to
Mhm.
come. And the movie opened some months later, and they followed my guess, and it worked.
Wow.
Yeah, they made a fortune. I was rewarded nicely. I was just a kid. I was 26, 27 years old at the time. So I was glued. And my dad hated the fact that I chose that job. He wanted me to become an accountant like he was, you know. Or I wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer or a doctor. So I said, no, I got to do this. Well, anyway, I started feeling guilty and it's mental linguistics, and it was a rough time for me. So I left and I put on a suit and tie and went to the banking industry and worked in a skyscraper, even back then in downtown Boston, selling municipal bonds. And it was interesting business, but God, I hated it. And so I got to get back in the movie theater business, and by that time, uh, people have changed, and so anyway, I didn't do that, and I always regretted that. Uh, but then along came this opportunity in publishing, magazine publishing, and I took that, and it had to do with the recruitment of talent from out of the region. So a
Mhm.
relocation had to occur. And so
Mhm.
the industry of talent mobility, everything from recruitment to onboarding, learning and development, benefits, and getting people who are being recruited from out of town to find a place to live. And that meant real estate and mortgages and banking. And that meant introduction to a new place to live for people. And then at this, just about the same time, uh, was the uh, miniature computers, mini computers, as opposed to huge IBM room size computers. They were shrunk down to desktop publishing. Apple, Steve Jobs. So Apple came up with the computerized way to publish magazines rather than, I'm sure you don't know this, but long type. Artists would take it and lay it down on a page and then design. And so you have a pictorial magazine, right? And that's called publishing. All right. And then photography, information, advertising. And so I developed a magazine that was a recruitment guide for companies to attract talent by publishing stories about the communities where people will live, depending upon how much money they were making. You know, they'd be in apartments, small, or if they're making more money, larger, or they're going to buy a home. Okay. So the money in that side of things was in real estate advertising, property, where to live advertising. So that is real estate brokers, real estate developers, apartment rental companies, furniture rental. Okay. And so I put that together in a magazine
Wow.
in Boston. Okay. And
Sorry, were there other magazines like that at the time?
yeah, but they weren't as they I put a Hollywood touch on it. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
with beautiful pictures, glossy, and style. I hired stylists, and I sold the ads, and hired a writer to do all that. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I know what I wanted to do. So after I did the first couple of editions, I decided to sell that, get out of town, and I wanted to go to Hollywood, LA. That was my entry back into that entertainment business, right? And so that was on or about 1980. I relocated the idea and the format to LA. And so the Boston edition was first published in late 1976. And in 1980, so 79, I sold, and but I kept trademarks and just took the idea and went to LA. So before I did that, um, I found a market uh, of recruiting companies needing to recruit talent from London who were computer engineers. Uh, Outside of London, there are two ultra universities, Oxford and Cambridge. These are major educational hubs. They were advanced, more advanced than the US, except for in Boston, Harvard and MIT techies. Okay. Nobody else really knew what was going on in the computerization and the mini computers that Apple formed their business on years ago, desktop publishing. Okay. So I utilized that. I was early adopter. At that time, those words didn't exist, but that's what it was. And um, the wife that I had at the time was adventurous, and she was a manager, internal manager, and I was the outside. So, and at that time we got along, and it turned out that she wanted to use the Apple desktop publishing invention that Steve Jobs had. The Mac was what we're talking about. It didn't exist before that. All right, so we bought Macs for the staff, and she found the talent, just kids, uh, and they were really fast in the fingers and all that. And we were one of the first commercial magazines to utilize that new system from Apple.
Wow.
And in return, they bought hundreds of our magazines for the
Mm-hmm.
LA magazine. Okay. And Apple then put us on the front cover of their magazine. And everybody who was into that kind of thing
Wow.
saw me and the computer and the magazine cover. Okay, I think I may have one here. Wait a minute. Uh, do I? Ah, shit. Well, I'm going to show you this. I don't know if you're going to see it on this camera.
I'm seeing it, San Diego bound.
Yeah, and that's San
Oh,
Diego. This was
wow.
this is I don't forget what year this was. Let's see. Hold on a minute. I'll tell you.
That's a
It,
historical move. Amazing.
yeah, it's a good story. And this was printed in Hong Kong. I used to print in California, but so I did a lot of interesting things a very long time ago. Um, my fingers are just cramping up. See, I'm getting old, I told you. So, um, let's see, 1 second here. Don't go away. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay. This is a front cover. I don't know if you can see it. See California
California
bound?
bound. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, this is a picture.
LA Metro. Oh my
Can you see that picture?
gosh.
Can you see that picture?
From times to times, I can see it.
Yeah, I know, it's weird. Ah, shit. Okay. Uh, anyway, on this cover, this was 1984, 85 edition. Okay, California bound LA Metro.
Mhm.
Oh, the camera's not picking it up. That's too bad.
It's because of the background. When you have activated the
Oh
picture in the
yeah.
back, yeah.
So this is a picture of me.
Oh, there you are with
All
a
right.
beard.
Yeah, like I think I was 36 or 37 at the time. It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah.
Wow, amazing story, amazing.
Okay, so this is so this is the magazine. Oh, you can't see it. Shit. Okay, how many pages was this thing? 175 pages, 176 pages. And it was a big hit. Okay. And let's see. I'll see if you can see that.
I see
Probably not.
a little bit,
You know what? I'm
a
going to
little
take this picture down.
bit.
This was a, let's see, what do I do here? Test. Oh no, I'm in the wrong thing. I'm sorry.
No problem.
Just background. Just background or blur. Let's see. Just adjust. Okay. I don't know. Do I have that? Okay. So now we're in my dining room here. Okay. So here we have,
There you
uh,
go. Now I can see. Oh, nice pictures.
yeah. So
Very-
I see it's Hollywood, but in
Mhm.
print. It's
Mhm.
glamorizing. And okay, so now this is the front
Mm.
cover, and you see those
Okay.
kids running in the park.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the girl is Michelle. It's my daughter,
Oh,
and that was Doug, a boyfriend at the time. They got married and then divorced, but they were happy for a while. Uh,
wow.
and he's a Hollywood producer now. Um, and she married somebody else. They have 2 kids and live a very successful entrepreneur, she and her husband. And then this is like how I did stories about the communities.
Looks
So,
good.
and this is an advertisement from a realtor there. So they spent a lot of money because, so I took this, I took the
Mm-hmm.
Boston edition before I actually landed.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to change the picture here. I think you'll like this one too.
Oh my. Is that yours too?
Yeah. So this is taken from my back porch.
Wow.
Okay, where this is in a country club in Palm Desert, which is about 100 miles east of LA. And that mountain
Stunning.
is 10,000 feet high, and we're in the desert. So this is on a championship golf course, and it's a business. We rent it out mostly. Uh,
Beautiful.
yeah, so
Stunning.
it's nice. Good, nice place.
Mhm.
So that all turned out nice, you know, that experience in the entertainment industry was actually a real estate learning experience. Part of that was from the Boston time, in the first edition, first and second editions. I had the idea that I'm going to go to real estate offices and then tell them they should buy ads because I'm going to have these corporate employees who need a house, or need a rent an apartment, need a mortgage, need furniture, clothing, banking. And they bought ads because I had the corporate market. So I took that Boston edition and got on a plane and went out to LA and walked into the LA Chamber of Commerce and LA Economic Development Corporation. I said, this is what I'm going to be doing for LA, but I don't know a thing about LA. You need to help me. And so they were intrigued for sure. And they said, we're not going to give you any money, but we'll be a customer once you put it out. And if you screw up, we're going to make sure you're not in town anymore because it's too valuable a thing. You got to
Mhm.
do it right the first time. So
Wow.
as it turned out, I did. And so
Congrats.
they, the Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development for of LA, it's a big deal. They liked what you just saw, okay, and they bought a lot of copies, and a lot, and 100,000 copies at $10 each. This is way back then. So all the companies used it because the LA Chamber was a major distributor. And so I had an honest story to tell to the potential advertisers. And a lot of people got help because of the material in the book, in the magazine. And then I started doing conferences, bringing together people to come into the LA Chamber lunchroom that they gave me to hold a conference in return for me introducing all my customers to the Chamber of Commerce so the chamber could sell memberships to them, and they did. And in the audience, I brought the human resource people and recruiters and bankers and real estate people into lunch to meet the chamber and the corporate guests who were very large companies in Southern California who were members of the Chamber and Economic Development Corp. And so it was a joint venture that I created, and it worked. That was in 1984, the very first live conference that I did. So, yeah, so it's been a ride. And so you asked how did I start all this? This is a straight line from the early days because I liked watching cowboy movies on TV. And it's not all peaks. There are some valleys, really. There's some deep valleys, and then that climb, claw back,
Mm.
and bumpy road. And as I said, I didn't meet Joanne until I was 52 years old. I wish I could have avoided the pain and confusion and disruption in my earlier years by meeting her then. So
But
it's
Galen,
not all easy. Yeah.
that made you the person you are nowadays. So all these difficulties and hard moments we go through, I think they really shape on us resilience and many other qualities that if you didn't go through those times,
Right.
maybe you wouldn't be here telling me this story. You are a winner. You overcame so much. And I'm sure if we talk more, you will have so much other stories to tell me. I'm amazed of all the things you have accomplished.
Uh, it's been a good run. And so the global meeting room, the Zoom, is a miracle. And I could attach what I've done. So anyway, this thing, the magazine,
Mhm.
okay, I couldn't afford to do this now. It's really expensive to do this. So I'm launching a TV series, in other words, using Zoom,
Mhm.
a global TV talk show series called
Mhm.
California Bound TV, which it's not launched yet, by the way. I'm looking for support. And so it'll be a TV talk show
Mhm.
on a frequent basis. And I intend to invite real estate brokers and property developers and managers and banks to come on in a talk show environment, just like you've experienced in. And we discuss community info, not to be boring, but what's the market like? What's the real estate market like? What the lifestyle opportunities, and bring people together that way.
Sounds really interesting.
Yeah. And so now another thing, I'm not sure I could do this. Oh, yeah. Okay. So I don't know if you can see this.
Yes, global business, May
Yeah.
25th, Chicago.
Uh,
Well, from times to times I can see it.
once again, it's difficult. Yeah. Sorry it's taken so much time.
No, no problem. It's very inspiring to hear
Um,
all of this.
yeah. Okay. So background effects. I don't know why it's not clicking. Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to show you the live conference business here. Okay. Here. Let's see. Okay. So this is says Global HR Town Hall.
Mhm.
Okay.
Paris.
Yeah. So this is a live meeting that I did there, and then the backside of the
Nice.
backside.
Wow.
All right. This is live meetings. This is this blonde lady is a psychiatrist. Sorry, and this
Mhm.
is her presentation. Okay. Anyway, that's one, and then this is another one. This is from Chicago. Uh, I don't know what year this was. Okay. This is the the conference schedule, and then this is another one here. This was the same one, May 25 in Chicago. Okay, the players. These are corporate people as well as some suppliers. You see the sponsors on the bottom.
Mhm.
Yeah, give you an idea. So that the global meeting room then is where what I'm trying to do is to bring people together.
Mm.
Uh, so putting on a live meeting is time consuming and really expensive, and doing a Zoom meeting, uh, it, it's easy compared to that. So it's a motivating factor, and having your kind interest to listen to me all this time, um, just talk about this stuff. So it goes on and
Thank
on.
you. Is you are so kind to having me here and sharing really. And again, what you do, I think, is so important for us, the global community that is changed so much in these last years. Probably you can tell me much more about this, but after internet came over. But the good thing is that we are more connected, and we can be like now. You're in my city, I'm in California. We're having this conversation.
And here
Many,
and here we are under the rainbow.
oh my gosh, beautiful.
Yeah, that's Maui.
Love it, love it.
Anyway, it's nice to have you on the show, and come back again.
My pleasure, Edwin. Thank you for everything you do. You are an amazing person. I look forward to see you next time.
Thank you. Take care.
Take care. Bye bye.